Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, comics we want to read, and everything in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. We got a special one for you today, one that Matt Hansen loves very, very much, and that is Swamp Thing, the Saga of Swamp Thing, Book 1. For all you who don't know, I love Swamp Thing, which is why, if you also notice, I'm doing a whole run of Swamp Thing on Matt's Minis.
If you couldn't tell from his Matt's Minis.
Yeah, so we're reading the 70s run, but this is the 80s run that we read this week. I'm reading the 70s run in the Matt's Minis, so you get a little backstory on this if you read that, or if you listen to that. So, but yeah, what'd you think of Swamp Thing, John? Since you've never read it before.
Well, first off, I got to say I'm really enjoying your little mini podcasts. They're sweet, concise, to the point.
Thank you.
Quick listen. I throw it on like when I'm at work.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They're not.
I try.
If you guys want me to do my own mini of some sort, let me know.
What are you gonna do, Aquaman, John?
Maybe.
John likes Aquaman. Everybody, that's how.
I like bearded Aquaman.
Okay, you know what? Actually, we should do that, Peter David.
Yeah,
with the hook.
With the hook hand.
Yeah,
exactly.
that
I like
I've
that
heard,
Aquaman.
I don't know if I believe, but I've heard that Aquaman run by Peter David is good. I don't know how that's possible, but apparently bearded, hook-armed Aquaman is badass.
I was reading like Civil War when I started to get back into comics, with the first run of Civil War when it came out, and then I was picking up a couple of DC, and I gravitated. I was like, oh, that Aquaman looks badass. What's going on with that? And yeah, that run I thought was cool. But anyway, Swamp Thing. So you have talked my ear off as long as we've been friends about Constantine and Swamp Thing. And I'm glad, and
they are intertwined, sir.
Yeah, they are.
If we keep reading any of these Swamp Thing books, he pops up. First appearance of Swamp Thing, I think, is the next book. So.
Well, I have to say, I think there's a reason that we're friends, because we both love fucked up things, and we love like horror elements and things, and yes. Swamp Thing was all of that. I really, really enjoyed it. There was definitely parts where I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like, who's this character?
Yeah.
What? Where does this? And I get like there's some backstory, because again, we've talked about this. DC doesn't spoon feed you like Marvel does, because we've been doing this for a little while, and I still, every time we get into a DC one that's like, the story has been out for a while, I'm always like, I don't know exactly what they're talking about. And I'll have to like either do some research, or we'll talk about it and be like, hey, what were they talking about at this part?
Right.
I didn't quite understand that. But overall, Swamp Thing had some truly like terrifying moments that I really enjoyed. The character was cool. I liked his progression, how they showed, who he really was and what he becomes.
Uh-huh.
It was really cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. This is like top tier talent. You got Alan Moore writing, which this is Alan Moore before. I think this is before Watchmen.
Before Watchmen?
It might be. I think this is his first thing for DC, and then he wrote Watchmen. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, because I think this is 1984, and I believe Watchmen is 86. I think, or it could be this is 86 and that's 88. I can't remember exactly what the dates are, but I'm pretty sure this is his first thing. So he was writing. I think he wrote Watchmen concurrent while he was writing this too. So, but either way, this is like the best storyline of, his run on Swamp Thing is like, it just set the tone for like so many good, awesome books. Like, you get Hellblazer out of this. You get Lucifer out of this, because Lucifer, there's like later on in this storyline, Lucifer in hell loses a battle, gets kicked out of hell.
Spoilers.
Well, like there's this. I think that happens in a like crossover story with Hellblazer. This and Hellblazer crossover at some point. It's so weird because they blend together. So in Hellblazer, we started off with the first trade, and that trade follows, I think, when they go to hell and fight.
Yeah.
So that might have been all in Swamp Thing. I can't remember.
Because Swamp Thing was in the Hellblazer too.
So there's like a lot of crossing over and a lot of stuff, and and also, hey everybody, everybody's a little under the weather and stuff right now, and things going on in the world, but none of us are sick, so we're all happy and healthy and stuff. We figured we'd just let you guys know. But John does have a little frog in his throat, so we're just...
But mine is actually from seasonal Texas allergies.
Yeah.
So
no worries, John is not dying.
Yeah, on top of everything that's going on, we have crazy oak pollen right now, and my apartment complex is full of oak trees. So
yeah, so if you hear him,
clear my throat. Yeah, I'm not dying. I don't have coronavirus, and for anybody that is out there dealing with it, it's crazy, and we hope that you all get better.
Yes.
Everybody stay indoors, wash your hands,
and listen to podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're here for. We're here to hopefully provide a tiny bit of entertainment while you're having to sit around at home.
Yeah. So anyway, back to books. Enough of that real world shit. Let's get to the important stuff. So this book, like this Alan Moore run, starts on issue, I believe it's 19 of the Saga of Swamp Thing run from the 80s. Now, issues 1 through 18 are with a completely different writer, and apparently it sucked and everybody hated it. I don't know. I haven't read that yet. We're going to get there in Matt's Minis. So, but apparently, Swamp Thing is just fighting his old time nemesis, Anton Arcane, and Alan Moore was just like, yeah, I don't give a shit about this, or there's certain characters that were in that storyline that he just they walk off into the sunset and you never hear from them again, or stuff like that. So this first issue is called Loose Ends of this trade, and I should also say the artwork in this is by, I believe it's was it Total Ben and Bissett.
Yeah, Bissett, Total Ben, and then it said there's some stuff with Dan Day and Rick Veitch.
Rick Veitch, yeah. Actually, those two, Rick Veitch did the following arc after the 60 issues of Alan Moore. He wrote the next 40 issues or whatever. So he did all the artwork and stuff. So anyway, but the art is very cool. It's very slimy and gothic and scary, and I don't know. And the way they draw Swamp Thing is so, he's got always has tons of vines and fucking plant life all over him and stuff, and bugs, and I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's always the little tiny details. I really did like that. I liked every time Swamp Thing came out of the shadows. It was really cool to see you saw different areas of him or different ways he came out.
Right.
And every time the vines are always different, and it looks like they're always changing. And always,
or flowering and stuff. If the sun's out, you see a flower or something on him, you're like, oh, that's cool. And so it's just a totally different art style than you would normally see. It seems way too detailed to be a monthly book. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's why there's 2 artists on it or something, but the
my
way
hand hurts. Take over.
Yeah. I don't know how they did it, but they did a very, very good job on it.
Spoiler alert, I don't know if you guys could tell this. I think Matt's going to give this a 10. Anyway.
What are you talking about? This one goes to 11. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, so this is an A-class team. And then, like I said, Alan Moore just got, they're like, hey, new guy from Britain, you're going to be writing this book and do whatever you want with the storyline that was going on before. And he was basically like, all right, these people we don't care about, they're walking away into the sunset. This person does this person does this. So in this first storyline, you get the government and Sunderland, who was if you watch the show, he's the main bad guy in the DC real world Swamp Thing show. But he's working with the government and they're trying to get Swamp Thing as usual. And then Swamp Thing was fighting with Anton Arcane in a plane, apparently. They don't even show that part. You just see Swamp Thing wandering around where is Arcane? I know he's alive or whatever. And he's looking for his body in the swamp after the plane crashed. So apparently in the last storyline, he was in a plane and it crashed. And then he's looking around. He finds Arcane. Arcane is actually dead. He's like, I need to see his body. And he sees his body. He's like, okay, Arcane's dead. So fuck Arcane's storyline. We're not dealing with Arcane anymore. Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. That's old school. We're crossing that off the books. And then you also get introduced to Matt Cable, who was in the original run of Swamp Thing that I'm reading in Matt's Minis. And he was a government guy, in the like he was a spook or something. But then I think in this run he's like less affiliated with the government, more just friend of Swamp Thing.
Friend of Swamp
Thing. And Abby. And then the other person is Abby Arcane, who's Matt's wife and also friend of Swamp Thing. And Arcane, her last name's Arcane because she's Anton Arcane's niece, I believe.
Yeah, I think niece.
So, so there's that weird triangle relationship there. But anything you want to add to the front there?
No, not particularly.
Okay, cool. So we get basically so Swamp Thing finds Arcane's body. He's like, oh wow, he's actually dead. Then like the government's like, we know where he is, and they just come and
load up the helicopters. We're going after him.
Yeah, they come and they shoot him. They do all this shit. And then they start like burning everything with flamethrowers.
Yeah, like Abby and Matt are going to like I guess a hotel to stay, and they
then they find that they're like the government's trying to kill them too.
Yeah,
they're like, hey, where's our room? They're like, that room. And then as they're walking there, didn't they see someone go in?
Yeah, someone was going into it, and then they turn the key and
it was like someone. I can't remember if it was like the bag boy or something was like, hey, let me open the door for you. And then as he opened it, it's like boom, and it just explodes. It's like, holy shit, they're trying to kill us too. And so yeah, basically in this issue, in this first issue, Swamp Thing gets killed. I'll say he gets like burnt to a husk. And do they have like a tranquilizer or something?
No, they just shoot him a crap ton of times.
I thought it was something like, I can't remember, but yeah, basically it's they get him dead either by burning him, or I thought there was some kind of like device. I can't remember what it was, but there was something that was like, it was like I want to say it was kind of like a plant poison or something, that they shot him with or something. But
maybe that was within the bullet or something. I don't remember.
So they take him out. So Swampy's dead as far as we know.
Yeah.
And
first issue, dead.
Yeah, exactly. And then Matt, Cable, and Abby just got away with their lives. And yeah, so we also see like Matt, Cable, and Abby have like kind of a shitty marriage.
Yeah, they have a weird, obvious relationship. Like Matt seems kind of abusive, and he's drunk. Like he obviously is. In the show, he's a drinker. And then like the weird things that like he's kind of like seeing, they kind of like hint at a little. Like there's these like reddish creatures.
It's weird. He like so I can't remember if this is in this issue or later on, but it shows him and Abby and they're arguing in their house and like, well, I can't believe blah blah blah, and then like it's weird because Matt's just like, you want to fuck, like, and Abby's like, no, this is like not an appropriate time. All this shit's going on. We found out Alec is dead. Alec Holland is the name of the original Swamp Thing from the 70s run and this run. So that's his name, his human name. But she's like, Alec's dead. They called Swamp Thing Alec. And so, I want to find him. We got to find him, not fuck right now. And Matt's like, but I want to. And she's like, no. And so she like goes out to like look for him and to look for Alec. And Matt's just like, fine, fucking bitch, basically. like you're my wife. You need to like, I have needs too, or whatever. And he just like starts dwelling on like these thoughts start festering, and like they actually show on the page is like these weird red insects and like monster bugs and shit that like start appearing around him. And then you find out that he can like actually make things with his mind, like in front of him. That I think it's like this demon power, this evil power is like taking him over and giving him the ability to like really manifest whatever he's thinking, like in his head, kind of thing.
Yeah. And he manifests like a sexy Abby.
Yeah, and like weird shit.
Weird and creepy.
Very weird and creepy. Like he has this. Doesn't like the first thing he manifests is like a kind of like a ballerina dancer in his hand, and it's just going around, and he looks so like mesmerized by it. And he's like, "You'll talk to me," or what? Like you're my friend. You'll stay with me. Like what the fuck? Yeah. So Abby goes to look for him. She can't find him. That's pretty much the end of that. That issue was just like, it's called Loose Ends because he's just like, whatever the fuck was going on in the last one, we're done. I'm starting over. So the real first issue of this this like run of Alan Moore is this anatomy lesson, which is issue 20 or 21. I can't remember.
This one was fantastic.
Yeah, this was like one of the coolest issues I've ever read. I want to say, I can't remember if I think they used to just start with anatomy lesson in the trades of Swamp Thing, of Saga. I think they were like, hey, maybe we need to like add the loose ends one just in case. Because I want to say the first thing I ever read of Swamp Thing was anatomy lesson, because it was like the first part of that trade. But I could be wrong. I might have just been like, what's going on with the front, and just forgot that stuff happened. But yeah, like, so this is like, okay, Sunderland has teamed up with Dr. Jason Woodrue, who's like a world-renowned biologist, but is also the bad guy.
I would team up or more of like,
well, he hires
you, and like you're gonna work because I tell you to, because he like he takes.
He obviously treats him like shit.
Yeah.
So, but like Sunderland is like a billion. Think of like I'm Bill Gates, but evil.
Yeah.
Or eviler. Or whatever. Or he's Jeff Bezos, but eviler. So okay, whatever. Hey, they're all evil. They all know that. And like he hires Jason Woodrue to work for him to look into the Swamp Thing body. They have the Swamp Thing body from the swamp that the government / Sunderland killed.
They want to know how he was alive. How was he made?
Yeah, they want to figure out, because the whole point that like in all of these comics is always like, what was that formula that you were making that caused Swamp Thing to happen? Like this bioregenerative formula. So everybody's always looking for that. So that I assume this was kind of like him trying to find out what was that. And this is the only time it finally gets fucking answered in most of these comics that I've read, at least, is basically Woodrue, who is, did I say the Floronic Man yet? He is also the bad guy named the Floronic Man. So he's like a D-list villain in the comics as well, and his name is the Floronic Man. And he's just like another plant-based creature, kind of like, or bad guy, kind of like Poison Ivy or something, but less sexy. And and yeah, so he gets hired by Sunderland to look at the body, and the body is frozen. They've frozen the green mass that was Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
And Woodrue's like trying to figure it out. He's looking into it, and he basically figures out that Swamp Thing, like, he's got lungs, but there's no reason for him to have lungs. They're just like sacs that look like kidney beans or whatever. Like they look like, same with like his heart and all that shit. None of it really works for a reason.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a circulatory system. There's no need for him to breathe, all this stuff.
Well, one thing I want to point out is that the biorestorative formula, I guess the main thing was it was a formula to promote crop growth.
Right.
And not have any other like real work of it. So I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, okay, so that makes sense why the plants are growing and why it's going to turn and what you're getting into. Just I thought that was cool.
Right. Well, and kind of what they say is it wasn't so much the biorestorative formula on him, because all that does is grow plants. It doesn't grow him at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't grow a human. Doesn't make a human a plant person. What he comes up to is basically this is like some sort of it's like the earth generating itself and thinking it's a human. So it's like a plant person. And later on what we find out is like it's a plant elemental. Like the earth has protectors that it grows every certain amount of time for generations and generations, and this one is Alec Holland.
It was cool, yeah. And like when they were explaining, like, so Alec was working on this formula, and then there was like an accident sabotage. There was a bomb underneath.
Yeah, they go through like the original origin from the 70s and stuff too.
Yeah, I just, it was a little more interesting to me because I didn't know any of that. I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize that like he was working on this, but it was sabotage, and then like so he like basically got caught on fire and like had a.
John, are you admitting that you don't listen to Matt's minis because that's covered in?
No,
Matt Smitty's Swamp
in
Thing
Matt
number one.
Smitty's, but I didn't
just-
know. I
just
didn't know about this beforehand.
I know. Just anyway, a lot of this origin is covered in Matt's minis. So, anyway, just fucking with you, man. But yeah. So like,
I don't listen to our stuff.
oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So yeah, like basically, Swamp Thing he's frozen. They're finding out like, yeah, he's not. He's a plant who thinks he's a man, not a man who turned into a plant, basically. Then we see like more of the craziness of like Cable and Abby, and like she's arguing with him and stuff. But this is mostly focused on just the storyline of Woodrow realizing that Swamp Thing is like not what they thought. It's not a biorestorative formula that made a man a plant. It's a plant that somehow thinks it's a man. And he puts that in like the paperwork that he gives to Sunderland, and Sunderland reads it and is like, cool, thanks, see ya. But Woodrow's like, no, I wanna like study it more. And he's like, no, I don't need you anymore. Since it's not the formula, there's nothing for us to like find out, basically.
Yeah.
Like if it ain't the formula, then why are we here? Because I can't make money off of anything but the formula.
Yeah.
So
I don't care about this human vegetable thing.
yeah. So, but Woodrow, being a villain and smart on his own right, is he kind of anticipated this. So he like turned the freezer off of Swamp Thing. He like made it so it's gonna start thawing Swamp Thing, because he knows now Swamp Thing can't die. Swamp Thing is just a plant. So the second he starts to thaw, he's gonna grow out, just like your grass in the winter. It turns brown, and then when spring comes, it turns green again, and then it starts growing. So he knows that Swamp Thing will just come back because there's no way to kill him. The earth will just regrow him. And he also knows, I like this, he spent a lot of detail, Alan Moore did, spent a lot of detail writing about how secure Sunderland's place was.
Yeah, it didn't need security because it was all electronic.
He was the only person there.
Yeah.
Like Sunderland, it was a giant building, and there's not even a maintenance guy there. Like, no one to fix the HVAC if it goes out, nothing. So yeah, everything was like from a touchpad. And this is the 80s, so this is like futuristic. But yeah, like everything was on a touchpad, and he's like, see how secure my place is? I'm awesome. Ha ha ha. And like, so Woodrow, when he reveals, it's like him leaving the building being like in his head, you thought you were so secure. Well, did you notice that the fucking temperature was turned off on the freezer? And, I can't wait till he finds out. And then it's like Sunderland seeing like there was movement in this thing or whatever. And he's like, what? And he like goes down, and then he locks down the building or whatever. And then he like walks down to the fridge, and he sees the body, but then the body's not, it's just a husk. And he's like, what the fuck? So Woodrow's like, his thoughts are kind of intercut between what's going on. He's like, he should be running down the hall by now. And like, oh, he's going to reach the glass doors. And, then it keeps showing like what's going on and at the same time. And then I love the part where it's like, and he tries to break through the window, but he can't or whatever, because it's 4-inch bulletproof glass. And he's like, and then I think it basically just like Swamp Thing kills the dude, right? It's just like,
yeah, it basically like he like almost looks like he suffocates him or pulls him into him.
That was fucking cool.
That
Yeah,
was
he's just
really
like,
fucking
I'm gonna
cool.
kill you, and instead of like smashing his head or something like horrifically graphic, he just like
Smothers him.
yeah,
with
he just
plant
like
brings
brings his head into his chest, and it's just like
you see
you're
his
dead.
feet dangle. It was yeah. No, and I have to say that these are the panels I was talking about where like really felt like horror type things, because Swamp Thing in the shadows coming out and stalking him while he's running away. It was all really cool. Or like his Swamp Thing got mad a few times, and like he broke a desk and he threw something, and it was really, really cool and very creepy.
Right. Oh, you know what I forgot? And this is why Swamp Thing is so mad. It's not because he died, right? Like he's like, oh, you killed me, but I grew back. So whatever. But what actually happens that makes him so mad is, so intercut when he after he thaws and he grows, and Sunderland walks down to the fridge. So there was like a part where they didn't see each other when they're however they walked to back past each other. But Swamp Thing went to Sunderland's office, read the file on himself, and found out, I am not Alec Holland. I am a plant that thinks it's
Yeah.
Alec Holland. And that blew his fucking mind. Like he, now he's like in a identity crisis. Like, who am I? I thought I was this person, that I could be human again if I just, figured out the formula and all this. And no, basically he finds out you are not Alec Holland. Everything you thought for the last 15 years in the comics and everything was just bullshit, and you didn't know.
You're basically just carrying his old.
You're living a
conscious,
lie, yeah.
And you are living as this new entity.
And they have this whole like, Woodrow explains like, oh yeah, there was. You know what a plank worm is? And like he was explaining this to Sutherland earlier, and Sutherland's like, shut the fuck up.
Care about these worms.
But basically, what he was saying was, there's these worms that if they eat, each other. Like they'll chop one up and feed it to the other worms, and those worms will be able to keep the memories of that worm that they ate.
Yeah.
So it was like they'll teach a worm to do a maze, and then they chop that one up, and then the worms that haven't even seen the maze can complete the maze. So it was like basically he's saying like the plant and animal life that live in the swamp just ate Alec and thought it was swamp. Then it. As it became conscious. Swamp Thing, as the Earth was like, I'm going to make an elemental, it was like, yeah, I'm Alec Holland, the Swamp Thing.
I like how they were stating how like the consciousness and like the Earth was like remembering itself, but remembering Alec. It was like, I had a skeleton, so it like made a wooden skeleton.
Yeah,
and then like you said, like I had lungs, I had a heart. Like, so it's making these things. It doesn't matter because it doesn't need them.
It doesn't need any,
but it's thinking and remembering that. That was really fucking cool.
Yeah. So that's why he's so mad. That's why he actually kills Sunderland so graphically, even though it's not graphic, but just like horrifically by smothering him and stuff. So
and while Woodrow's going over all that too, he like takes a shower and like all of his human skin.
Yeah, that's when you find out. You've only seen Woodrow in like a human form. You just assume he's a human. But then he takes a shower and his face like melts off in the shower. And basically, he's got this spray, which I think is funny. It's like a spray.
A human spray.
Yeah, like a human skin spray. But he just sprays it on himself, and it makes him look human. But he's got like a bark face and like weird green hair and shit that is like plant life, I assume. So he's actually like a weird plant person.
He looks like a gangly yellow, brown, and green Swamp Thing. Like he's like a skinny like
super skinny malnutrition swamp.
Yeah.
And also he took a piece of Swamp Thing on his last day. He took a piece of it, and as he's home after he takes a shower, he prepares it and he eats it, which is fucking weird. Anyway, but if you think about it, he's a cannibal. And then all of a sudden he gets like, because now he knows it's not the formula. This is like he's in touch with the Earth's entire ecosystem. So if I eat this, I should also be in touch with the Earth's entire ecosystem. So he eats this, and his mind gets fucking blown. He sees like time and space and infinity and all the plants,
like
and
the redwood in California and like a plant in like Nova Scotia, and like just everything in between,
all at once. Like his mind is just boof, and so he gets like super crazy.
He goes insane.
He goes insane, but he goes insane at first, which we're getting into the issue after that, which is he starts being like, I am a guardian of the green, and I'm gonna protect it and kill all these people and stuff. So the next issue starts with him killing kids and stuff. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on Anatomy Lesson?
No, not particular.
Okay, cool. So the next issue starts with some kids in a car, and they're just like hanging out, and they're like trying to figure out what they want to do, and basically Woodrow just kills them all. Just like vines come out and strangle them and fucking kill them all.
Yeah, it's fucking intense.
Yeah, so this is like one of the ones where he's like going crazy, and in the meantime, Abby is searching for Alec, and she's like making Matt come along, and he's like, fuck, I don't give a shit about this. Like, he is dead. Why are we looking? We know he's dead. We saw him. He was dead. And but Abby's like, no, I know he's alive. I'm looking for him. So she's looking for him, and she does find him, but he's face up, laying down, and like his eyes and mouth holes are filled in with like water, so it looks like he's dead kind of because he's just there. And so he's got this weird like facial structure where he's got like indents where his eyes and mouth, like around his mouth, are.
Yeah.
To kind of like give him features on his face because he doesn't have eyebrows and hair and shit. So those are filled in with water, and then it just looks like his back is kind of like grown into the earth underneath him. So, she's like, "Oh my god!" And then while they're looking at it, she's like horrified. They think he's dead. Woodrow comes out of the woods and he's like,
with his painted
with his human
skin,
his human skin
sprayed on his human skin.
He's like, "Ma'am, don't worry, he's not dead. He's fine. He's
been sleeping for a fortnight."
Yeah, he's just asleep now, and that's what he's just recuperating from stuff. So, and then you see like inside of Swamp Thing, and he's just having an inner battle of like, who am I? Am I a plant? Am I a man? What, obviously I'm not a man. And he's just seeing like skeletons everywhere and his wife Linda's body. And, he's having these memories, but they're not his memories. And he's kind of coming to terms with realizing that he's not a plant person, or that he's not a person plant. And so
Abby and Matt leave. Because they're distraught, or she's distraught. And Matt's like, whatever.
Matt's like, God damn it! It's just continuing their horrible relationship, and you see like she's sleeping, and he's like got more and more of these like creatures and demons around. And he's talking to her, he's talking to like the lady in his hand, and she's like, she doesn't love you anymore. He's like, I know. And like, they're talking to each other, and Abby even wakes up at one point and she's like, "Are you talking to someone?" He's like, No. She's like, "I thought I heard a voice," and it's just him watching the TV, and it's like wow, like that's super fucking creepy.
So fucking creepy.
But it's basically like him just like his resentment feelings towards her are building and building and building, and he's just a fucking asshole basically. And yeah, so as this one goes, it's just basically like him. It's Woodrow going and killing people, and causing shit and mayhem and whatnot, and being like, "I am a champion of the green, and all people will die, and then we'll all be happy and everything." And then we get to like the next issue, basically, where that's continuing, and it's like this issue says, starring the JLA, so the Justice League of America's in this, and you're like, as a reader, you're like, what? The JLA is going to come fight Woodrow, so it's like Superman's going to punch a hole through a plant.
Oh, right before this, so like Woodrow's killing people, and Swamp Thing, Abby's like going out to look for Swamp Thing again, and Woodrow starts to attack Abby. He's in his like crazy plant form, and that wakes up Swamp Thing.
Yeah, so Swamp Thing's like, "Watch out!"
Yeah, so then they start fighting, and then that's when...
Yes, that's when the JLA are like, "Oh shit, something's actually going down." But the best thing about this is the JLA, the Justice League of America, for all those of you who might not know, that is the giant, conglomerate that is all the superheroes that are, fighting for Earth, for America generally, but for Earth. And they live on a satellite above the Earth. So I think Alan Moore, when I say I mean Alan Moore right now, that he like really, like, I don't think he wanted to write anything about superheroes or anything. So on this, he purposefully makes it so they're just like sitting, watching a TV, watch all this mayhem in Louisiana, and they're like, "Is this something we should handle? I don't know if this is something we should handle." And then like Firestorm's like, "I think we should go." And then like Green Arrow's like, "Yeah, who's supposed to protect Louisiana if not the Justice League?" And then Superman's, "I don't know. Does this seem like something for us or from local authorities?" Like they're just deliberating and arguing whether they should go or not. Like it's very funny.
Yeah.
It was like not Justice League that you normally read at all.
Not like everybody together, let's go.
Yeah, no, it's Justice League, ho! Like nothing
whole comic of them like, should we do this? I don't know, like because it'll go back to showing like the fighting, and then there's a panel or two later. The Justice League's like, maybe we really should make a decision on this, huh? Yeah, we really should.
And like so Swamp Thing finally like they're fighting, but like then Woodrew's like, "What are you doing? I'm with you. Like we can now that you're awake, we can like kill them together.
Yeah, we're both plant people.
We're both. I'm your brother. Like we're plant guys." And then Swamp Thing's like, "No, actually, you're not even like a part of the green. You just like glimpsed it for a second and went fucking crazy." And so then like Woodrew realizes like, "Oh shit, like that's kind of true. Like he can't feel the connection." But like when they were fighting, he was like, bah! Like making like roots pop up and like stab Swamp Thing, and Swamp Thing's like, once again, not alive, so this doesn't.
Not gonna kill me.
Yeah, so it doesn't do anything to me. So once he tells Woodrew like, "Hey, you're not even like a part of the green, really. You just ate a piece of me and like momentarily glimpsed the infiniteness that is my awesome power of the green." And Woodrew's like, "Holy shit!" So and while he's fighting, it was funny. There's like a dude who's got a chainsaw that sees like Swamp Thing like looks like he's losing because Woodrew like has him on like a wooden spike or whatever, and he's like, "I'll help you, Swamp Thing," and he like gets what's his chainsaw's name?
Evangeline.
And he like takes the Swamp Thing and like cuts Woodrew's arm or whatever, or the wood thing coming out.
Yeah.
So it was just funny. Like I appreciate that. Like the guy's like, "I'll help you, Swampy."
Yeah.
So,
and what Woodrow, I like there was a panel where Woodrow like breaks Swamp Thing's arm, and Swamp Thing picks up his arm, holds it against himself, and like the vines just all reconnect together. He's like, "Yeah, this doesn't hurt me."
Yeah, this is literally nothing. So,
I love that he defeats him with like logic. Like they're fighting, and then he's like, then like the bad guy's doing his talking thing, and Swamp Thing's like, "Actually, I'm gonna talk too. You're fucking retarded. This is not."
Whoa, John.
I'll apologize.
John just said the R word.
I did say the R word. I apologize. Anyway, you don't know who you are. You're basically the green isn't thinking that. You're thinking that. You're just crazy.
So then Woodrew's like, "What?" And his like mind is blown again. By that, and he's just like, "I don't understand." And then he realizes like, yeah, he's never like right now he's not in connection to anything other than the immediate green around him, just like his powers always are. He's not actually in the green, like he's not feeling the redwoods anymore, and he's not feeling the flower in Tibet or whatever, so like he realizes, oh shit, like he's right, I'm not part of the green, I'm just the nobody. So then he like walks off, and Swamp's like, all right, you're not hurting anybody anymore, cool. And like lets him go. So he walks away, and he's just like in his house, and he's like, oh my gosh, like I gotta figure it out, I gotta get back to the green kind of. And like he wants to figure out how to be connected. And now that once he got a taste, now he needs another hit. You never get, you chase that dragon for the rest of your life when you hit that green. So, so yeah, like then finally the JLA are like, yeah, we should do something. So then they fly down to where he lives, and they like are walking to his house, and I guess he has like, I can't remember if he sees him at the window or there's a camera or something. But he's like, the JLA is here. And he like gets his spray paint out, but at this time he's like all overgrown and stuff, and his clothes don't fit him anymore because he's like bark is grown out because he went all super plant or whatever. So he's got like extra long hands and like limbs, and his bark's on his face is grown out.
Sticking out of his face.
Yeah, and like so he tries to put on a suit, and he like tries to spray paint his face with that like human skin spray. And he's just like, as they answer they knock, they're like, Woodrew, come out, like we know you're in there. And he's like just a second, like I'm just putting my face on, like literally. And so he like opens the door, and he's like, hey guys, what's going on? And he looks ridiculous, like his face is like melting off, and he even says like my face is too overgrown, but I'm sure they won't notice. Like he's just totally crazy at this point.
Yeah.
And so like then they're like, oh, Woodrew, like you need help.
Off to Arkham with you.
Yeah, we'll take you where you need help. He's like, will you guys? Thanks. Like he does no fight at all.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're just. It's like Superman puts his arm on his shoulders, like, come with us.
Yeah. There's no like fighting, which is funny. It's the Justice League just,
they don't do anything.
And they don't take him to Arkham. I think they just take him because it's not Gotham.
I thought he said like I thought Superman. So one of them
maybe said Arkham. I don't know, but whatever. He's in the loony bin.
They go to the loony bin.
So yeah, that's. That's like how that episode ends. I just love that on the cover they say this issue has the JLA, and you're like, whoa, these like, I'm buying this for the Justice League fight, and there's no Justice League fight.
When I turned to that and I saw that was the cover, I was like, whoa, they're bringing the Justice League in already. That's weird. And then by the end you're like, oh, they didn't do anything.
Yeah, yeah, they literally just sat and like argued for 2 pages, and then came and like walked him away. So that was fun. And then we get like the first real story in this run. Like that was all him kind of wrapping up the last run and introducing the new Swamp Thing lore, which is Swamp Thing's an elemental of the green. He's got powers. He's still new to them. He doesn't know what they all are, but we will discover them throughout this run. And then this is like the first Swamp Thing's gonna really fight with something that's not, a Justice League villain or whatever. It's like an actual Swamp Thing story. And these Swamp Thing stories are really similar to Hellblazer stories. I was reading this, I'm like, I remember this as a Hellblazer story. Like, that's how I remember this storyline. I was like, oh yeah, what Hellblazer issue is that? And then I was reading this, I'm like, oh, I thought that was like a Hellblazer story. It's a Swamp Thing story. So for those of you who don't know, Hellblazer is an original creation of Alan Moore. He first appears in Swamp Thing. I think it's like 35 or 37 or something. So that's like a couple issues later. But yeah, like this really felt like that horror gothic.
Oh yeah, you could definitely see how they're tied together because all the elements are there in the next part of this with some of the creatures and some of the demonic things. It's very like it takes it goes from like horror-esque but like still like grounded with like earthly things to like the only thing that's kind of out there and creepy is Matt's stuff.
Yeah, Matt's stuff you're still like, I'm not sure exactly what this is.
But then this shit is like it hits.
Right. Well, and kind of what they're setting up and a lot of the Swamp Thing, it's just like this evil is imminent and it's coming and it's kind of here already. So things that happen that are supernatural aren't really explained of like why they start to happen. They just start happening. And then later on, he fights bad guys, and you're like, oh, I guess that's why all that was happening. So it's just like, it doesn't really need an explanation. I mean, you could just assume, like, Matt, his, like, resentment and anger towards his wife is just physically manifesting for some reason. We see in this storyline that Abby starts working at a school for autistic kids. Are they all special, or is it just a school in general?
I think the school in general is.
Okay. I think they're all autistic kids. So it's like a special needs facility. And there's all these kids there, and one of them's named Paul. And Paul always draws this monkey creature that's like killing his parents. And he's just like, the monkey's going to get me. And like, he's freaking out and stuff. And they're like, well, this kid's, he's crazy. Like, he's a new one. And he, his parents were murdered and he thinks a monkey did it. What an idiot. And like, that's generally like what some of the people feel in there, but there's good teachers and stuff too there. And Abby is like, this is like her first day or her first interview. I can't remember if it's like the interview or I think it's the interview. The interview, they walk her around this facility and that's where she meets Paul and all this stuff. And he has like a infatuation with spelling for some reason. He's like, you got to spell it right or else the Monkey King will kill you. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? So basically what we find out is through this issue, like Paul's parents bought a Ouija board. I don't know if it was a special Ouija board and maybe this is why it happened like this, but basically the Ouija board, they're using it and they're like asking it questions and they said like, who's talking or whatever. And it's telling them the letters and they read it out and they actually say the words and those words are an incantation to summon this demon. And it's not quite enough to like make it manifest fully. But it's like half. It's like it needs a master still to like ground it in our reality. So it murders them, and then it goes up the stairs, and the kid hears all this. He hears like he wakes up, and you hear like God no, and like he's like mommy, and then then there's silence, and then he just hears like wet paws coming up the stairs and then like opening the door and coming close to his hand. He's got like his eyes closed and he's like, and then I just feel like wet hot breath on my hand, and then like I guess the monkey like nuzzles his hand or
Yeah,
whatever.
and like curls up to him, he says, and then it's like licks his hand, like, master.
Yeah, and it's like, what the fuck? So it wants the kid to be its master, to like fully grounded here. But what ends up happening is this guy named Jason Blood comes into town, and we don't really know much about Jason Blood. If you read comics kind of in depth, because I don't know if this character was very popular back in the day, but if you read DC comics enough, you know who Etrigan the Demon is, and Jason Blood is the human counterpart to Etrigan. So Jason Blood comes to town, and basically, I can't remember how it works exactly. I think Jason Blood can choose to turn into Etrigan on when he wants to, and then the demon will turn back to Jason when he wants to as well. So like, they don't control each other at all. They're like a separate entity, and basically Jason was tricked into like, I think he's from like the 1500s or something, but he was tricked into a deal with this demon so that the demon could get out of hell, but the demon's also like has to live with Jason there too. So like they're together, but they also don't like each other. And so Jason's walking around and he's got mystical powers. So he sees like people in the town, and this guy's like, "Hey, watch it, buddy." He's like, "You're going to die today. You're going to get speared by a swordfish." And then like, and the guy's like, "What? That's ridiculous." And then like another guy's walking and you know, he's like, "Hey, fuck you, sir," or whatever. And he's like, "You're going to die from this and that," or whatever. Like, he just knows everybody's fate.
Yeah.
And he's just telling them. They're like, "That's ridiculous." And then like later on in the comic, those things happen. And like, it's fun to see how, because you're like, he's like, "I'm not going fishing. How am I going to get, you know, stuck by a swordfish?" And then like you see he's at like an auction where that Ouija board is being sold because it's from the family, and the family had like a stuffed swordfish or marlin on the wall. And then some guy bought that, and then the marlin was on top of his car and he didn't tie it down well enough, and then he slams on his brakes and the marlin flies off and stabs the guy. And just like weird shit like that. Like it's a fun like interweaving of all this stuff. And so basically Jason's there because he knows this evil's going down and he's gonna have to fight it. We don't know that though. We just, as the reader, you're just like, who's this weird guy that like knows what's going on in the swamp and stuff, in the town. And so of course Abby gets the school. She takes the job. And that's kind of like the setup for the next issue, but you get like the demon Monkey King guy is like super creepy. He's like a big white. He can like change size at will. I think depending on how he feeds on fear. So if he's fed a lot, he's bigger. If he's not fed a lot, he's like a regular monkey size, and then
and he can also kind of manifest into like.
Well, that's in the next issue. The next issue is like. We find out, so he finds at the end of this issue, he finds the home with the kid. So he's like, "Master," he like walks in the door and the kid's like, "Oh my God, he found me here." So he finds like the autistic school where they live. And so basically the monkey's like found a jackpot of food because all the kids there are like terrified of things. And the monkey we find out that the monkey is what Paul sees, but it's not what everybody else sees. The demon that is the Monkey King can actually like manifest in whatever you're scared of to make you scared so that you can feed off your fear.
And these panels were awesome seeing it and take different form and like
so like, fucking creepy.
Almost like going from like a gelatinous form into like whatever that person was like visioning it as. Like
one of the girls sees like her stepdad. I don't know if it's her dad or stepdad, but the dad walking in and be like, "Don't, like, mommy needn't know, honey." And you're just like, what the fuck? Like so she was like raped by her father, and that's her scariest thing. Yeah. And it's super fucked up. And so like the Monkey King's feeding off all this. In the meantime, Abby and Matt Cable have like a fight about her. She's taken the job now. She's worked there for like a couple days or whatever. She's like, "I really like it." And he's like, "I'm sick and tired of hearing about your goddamn kids. I need stuff too. Well, you only care about those fucking kids and your job, but what about me? I'm your husband. I have needs," or whatever. It's like, can we please fuck? Like, it's just so like obsessed. Like, it's so weird, his like resentment to her. and not like trying to actually work it out, but just being like, I am your husband, I deserve this or whatever. Like such a fucking asshole. It makes me, I want to get further in my run of the original Swamp Thing to see how he actually is, because in that he's just like a government guy or whatever. He's not married to her or anything, so there's no like, not yet at least. So I want to see like how his character actually is before this, but in this he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, you're terrible, and like in the meantime, I think doesn't Jason Blood like meet up with Swamp Thing and is like, or no, Swamp Thing feels what's going on.
Swamp Thing is in there and he like sees this like gray coming, and I thought it was also cool because Swamp Thing's like changing colors, and it says like, oh, he changes like colors with the seasons
in the autumn. Yeah.
Like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, she's like, you look different. He's like, it's autumn. The plants change in autumn. That's what happens. Yeah, so like he feels like it. Like ever since he finally accepted that he's connected to the green, he's not Alec Holland anymore. And like him and Abby have that like conversation where she's like, Alec. He's like, I'm not Alec.
I'm not.
Like, you can call me whatever, but I'm not really Alec. So she's like, okay.
I am the Swamp Thing.
Yeah. And so he's like connected with the earth now, and that means that he feels like evil dark presences more, or at least recognizes them as that. And like he knows he needs to go fight something, and he needs to go fight it at this school. So him and like Abby leaves Matt and is like, I know there's something evil there. I have to go to the school to help Swamp Thing. So Matt's like,
don't you dare leave.
Yeah, if you leave, you're out of this house. And she's like, see ya, I don't give a shit.
Whatever.
Yeah. And so Matt's just sitting there and he's like, you fucking bitch. Like she left me. So her and Swamp Thing go to the school and they're fighting. Or they're not fighting each other. They go to the school and they like see the Monkey King and they start fighting with it, and it's like way too powerful. It's just fucking Swampy up. Like he's not killing him, but he like,
he's throwing him around.
He's throwing him around. He doesn't have all his powers yet. He doesn't know what he can do, and it's definitely like he's fighting, but he's fighting something that's outclassing him because he doesn't know, everything about his body yet. He hasn't learned about his new powers and shit. So he's losing, and then Etrigan shows up and is like, and what we find out, if you've never read Etrigan before, which I don't, had you read Etrigan before?
Nope.
Okay. So Etrigan only talks in rhyme. And I think it's like a specific type of rhyme too. Like it's got to be iambic pentameter or something, like something old school. So if that can be bad if you have a bad writer, but with someone like Alan Moore, it's definitely like different.
Yeah, it was weird. Like I when I saw the character pop up, I was like, I feel like I've seen the design before.
Yeah,
but I didn't know. And then
well, he's been in the animated show.
Maybe
he was in like the New Adventures of Batman and stuff like before.
But I didn't remember that he only talked in rhyme, and I thought it was interesting to read. But it wasn't distracting at all. So
yeah, actually, you know what? It was hard for me. So once you start reading in rhyme, everybody else's dialogue isn't in rhyme, but I'm reading it like that. Like you're reading it like da 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 da.
So you're like going on to that in like Swamp Thing.
Yeah. And then Swamp Thing Saga, he's like, Abby, I don't think we should. And then you're like, Abby, I don't think. Like you're reading it like in iambic pentameter or whatever, and you're just like, I don't know. It just kind of like threw me. Like, okay, I got to remember. Only when Etrigan's speaking is it going to be rhyme. So it was just like a funny thing that happened in my brain. But yeah, so now Etrigan is a full-blown like demon. He's like, from what I remember, he's like one of the generals of Hell's army. So he's like a full-on like actual badass, powerful demon. So he's fighting the Monkey King, and he's getting his ass kicked too. Like they're fighting, but he's not like winning necessarily. And he's like, basically, he's like, there's too many. He can feed off too many people in here. It's too powerful. They set up a plan where they're like, you and Swamp Thing run, and I'll fight him here, and then I'll get him out of the school or whatever. So they do that. In the meantime, cut back, Matt Cable. He's sitting there in his chair. He's stewing and festering away.
Oh yeah, and at this point, like there's like red creature.
It's like see through. Like look, like are they imaginary or are they not? I don't know.
They're just everywhere. There's a shit ton of them.
Yeah, and they're all around him, and they're like whispering in his ear, like like she doesn't fucking like you or whatever. He's like, yeah, she doesn't like me. Like she's probably fucking Swamp Thing right now or whatever. like how dare she cheat on me or whatever, like kind of thing. Like,
oh, it's creepy. He when she left, she like changed or whatever, and he like manifested her clothes into
I forgot about that.
In like a form of her, and then like she left already, and he like manifests her and is like, you need to get on your knees and apologize to me.
Yeah,
so
super
fucking creepy.
Fucked up. Yeah, very, very creepy. Like, I mean, Alan Moore did such a good job at writing him and being so creepy and scary. And
yeah.
like, ugh. Just, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah.
And so he's like stewing, and he's like, fuck it, I'm going to go find her or whatever. And he's also drunk. He's been drinking the whole time.
You see like bottles and shit.
He's been pounding, Jack Daniels all night or whatever. And so he gets in his car and he's driving, and he like he's going fast, but he just flies off the road and crashes into a tree, and his car explodes because it's a comic. And then and like it explodes, but it doesn't it's not on fire. I think the rain puts it out because it's all rainy and shit. But it's not like boom, like he doesn't die right there.
But he's definitely mangled. You can tell.
Oh yeah. Well, so they cut back to him after because that's kind of intertwined with the fight that's going on at the school. So once they cut back to him, he's like, oh god, and then you just see his arm's completely broken and in the wrong position, and his face is all smashed up and shit.
There's a car parts in the front seat where he is that shouldn't be there.
Yeah. So it's like he is obviously going to die, and all of a sudden this little fly bug appears. It was very reminiscent of Hellblazer, because in Hellblazer, the first trade, there's this whole run where there's a fly demon, and I think that's what they're alluding to. Yeah, this was the first appearance maybe of that demon, who whatever. But so the fly starts talking to him out of nowhere.
Hey man, what's up?
Yeah, hey. And he's like, oh my god, I'm hallucinating. He's like, no, you're not hallucinating. It's I'm here. He's like, what the fuck? And he's like, because I guess the whole time he thought all that stuff was in his imagination. But obviously, if Abby heard him talking to someone,
he was talking.
I think he was actually talking to this demon, but it hadn't got the power to manifest in reality until now. So he gets the demon talking to him, and is basically like, hey, you want to live, right? Because you're going to die totally. You're bleeding out really bad. And if you want to live, all you got to do is tell me you really want to live, and you're cool with that, and I'm just going to...
Just open your mouth.
Yeah, just open your mouth. And he's like, well, you're like a demon. He's like, yeah, but do you really want to live? He's like, I guess. He's like, all right, open your mouth. And the demon fly just walks into his mouth, and I don't know what the fuck happens there. It just goes inside of him.
He's like, it's only gonna hurt for a second.
Yeah, and it just burrows in or whatever, and it's like, oh my god. So yeah, that's it.
And it cuts away.
Yeah, you don't know what happened there. So then we get to we cut back to Abby's in the swamp with Swamp Thing
and Paul.
And they ran away because the monkey's like, I'm going to go with Paul. It's trying to get Paul. So they run away to the swamp with Paul, and the Monkey King's following after them. And then before they know it, it's there. It's on top of them. And then Etrigan needed Paul to go away from him because Paul was the source of the Monkey King's power.
Yeah, he realized that. So that's why they had to pull him away. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why he's in the swamp. They ran to the swamp. So the Monkey King's there. He's going to attack Abby, and then Etrigan shows up, starts fighting him.
It turns into Matt. I thought that was kind of cool too.
Oh yeah, that's true with Abby.
She sees Abby's Matt scared of. I was that is fucking cool. So it really is messing with her.
That's what they said. Swamp Thing. She asked Swamp Thing later on, what did you see? And he said, I saw flames.
Oh yeah,
because he burned alive or whatever.
When
when he thought he was Alec Holland. Eventually, Paul, Etrigan's fighting too. Etrigan comes and Paul's like, no, stop.
I'm not
scared of you. Yeah, I'm not gonna be afraid of you. It was all is there a movie where that happens? We're I'm not scared of you.
It's like It.
Yeah, that's basically kind of like that. It's very it is like It.
Yeah, because
but it's written in the same. I think It and this were concurrent. I think It came out in 84 or 85, and this is 84 or 85.
Sometimes people have good ideas.
No, it's great writers, right? But anyway, so the monkey is Arr! And then it starts to shrink and shrink as Paul's
he's like, you're nothing. You're not even a bug.
Yeah, and then he shrinks down to the size of a bug, and then Etrigan's cool, and he picks it up and he just eats it, He eats the Monkey King bug. So, and then that's pretty much it, right? Like, he's like, all right, folks, see ya. And like,
Edrigan's gonna like say something to him. He's like, hey, remember? And they're like, get out of here.
Yeah.
I don't let him finish. And he's like, okay, whatever. So yeah, he leaves, and then everybody is just kind of tying up. It's like, okay, Paul's okay now. You can go back to school. And and Abby's like, what did you see, Swamp Thing? And he's like, fire. And it's because when he was in the accident, there was the explosion.
Yeah,
so that was cool.
So that's pretty much ends there. Like Abby takes Paul back, and the kids are all good now and everything. And
so they embrace one more time, and they part, and the except the last little thing is Abby walking back to like the hotel.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And the car pulls up alongside of her, and it's Matt's car, all miraculously fixed. She doesn't know that he was in an accident, obviously. But he like rolls down the window. He's like, "Hey, babe, I totally missed you. I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Get in the car. We'll go back together and we'll talk things out."
Yeah, super creepy. Like, wait, so the bug demon fixed the car, fixed Matt. Everything's fine. What the fuck is gonna happen?
Dark.
Yeah.
At the end.
The end.
It was
So it leaves on a good cliffhanger. It also like sets the tone perfectly for how this horror. It's actually like a love story / horror book together and all in one. That's the whole Saga Swamp Thing book 1. What did you think, John? I mean,
I think I'm ready to read more.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
I'm down to read all 6 of them.
And like I said, even though like there was some of the backstory that I didn't quite get, and there was like the characters, like it wasn't hard to understand where things were going or what they were talking about.
Right.
So like,
it's just a little jarring if you're used to reading a standard 6-issue storyline that, well, hey, I might not know everything that's been going on, but I know generally these things. This is like a brand new story. We're forgetting the characters before. We're reorganizing or retelling a new origin of this character, basically. But it's still the old character, but it's like him finding out, like, here's a cool idea I had that's better than a man swamp.
Yeah.
Swamp, a man plant. It's a plant man, so, or it's the other way around. It's a plant.
It's not a man plant.
Yeah.
It's a plant man.
Exactly. So, and then, it only gets better from there because he, starts to learn his powers. Then Hellblazer comes in and all this stuff. So it's like it just gets more and more creepy, but it's also more and more of a love story too the whole time. So
I have a good question for you because I think you'll probably know. What came first, Swamp Thing or Man Thing for Marvel?
I believe Man Thing was first.
Okay.
Because Man Thing, I think, might have been from like the late 60s, really early 70s. Because Swamp Thing's from 71. So, but I don't think there was any.
They're different characters completely.
Yeah, they're completely
I know that.
characters.
I just was curious because I'd meant to look beforehand, and so it just popped in my head. But,
right.
But Swamp Thing is fucking cool.
I've never read Man Thing, but I will not. I refuse to. On principle. Just because there's no way. I mean, Alan Moore never did a Man Thing run, so, I've never heard anybody talk about Man Thing. So, but anyway, Man Thing's from Marvel, just in case anybody doesn't know that. But
yeah,
and it looks like a weird elephant swamp creature. I don't know. It's got like a long nose.
Yeah, he's got like tentacly nose.
Yeah,
things.
and apparently he like lights things on fire, which is weird. He has like a fire gaze, I think.
He did, oh.
I've seen panels where he's like wah, 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 and like there's flames and stuff. I'm like, if you're a plant monster, why would you want to be pyrokinetic? But
yeah, that seems opposite. Anyway,
whatever.
But Swamp Thing was really cool, and like I said, despite some of the things I had questions on, it didn't take away anything from this comic. The art was fantastic.
Yeah. The panels are so cool too. Like they're not your standard panel design at all. And I think this might be one of like the first ones that really went out there with like, you'll have like a panel that's like a trapezoid, and then behind it there's like a big oblong one, and then like they really, but everything made sense.
Just like square perfect panels.
Yeah, but it made sense of like where you're supposed to read, and it was just a cool design. Like it really told you like this is different. This is standing out from your obvious, comic kind of thing. So yeah, well, what would you give this one, John?
I would say 9. I really enjoyed it. It's not like perfect tone for me just because I don't have all the back history, but it, like I said, It just didn't quite take away. But I loved it. It was great. I'm looking forward to reading more.
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna give this 11. So, so this is like the very beginning of my favorite run of comics, pretty much. So
we only go to 10, Matt.
We only go 10 and a half. So
no, I knew you would, because like I said, we have been friends for so long, and Hellblazer, Swamp Thing, Hellblazer, Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
And it's like you've showed me things here or there, but we've never really sat down and read one. So it was really cool to do that finally. And
Yeah. And like most of the stuff you like, unless you read the comics, you don't actually get the Swamp Thing feeling like of this book.
oh yeah,
Because if you watch the animated show or you watch, I mean, even like Hellblazer, any animated stuff or whatever he's been in, the WB show, even the DC Swamp Thing show, it's horrific, but this feel of this special artwork and all that stuff and like the writing of Alan Moore is just, you cannot get it unless you read this book. And so I could tell you, oh, this is amazing, this is great, but unless you read this, you would never really get the feel that this book gives you, kind of thing. So, but yeah, I can't wait. I mean, we can read other ones. We can even jump around. We don't have to. I could fill in what happened before.
What happens.
But I mean, there's definitely some like, I mean, every story, every run of a writer has, ups and downs. So there's definitely like, I didn't care about that one as much, but there's really high points in this run too. Like there's one where he fights Batman.
Oh,
In Gotham. It's very, very cool.
awesome! Hell yeah!
Yeah, very cool. So we might skip to that one to like get the flavor more of like, this is what it really gets to be, where we see his powers fully now, because this is like issue 55, I think, is that one. This is issue 20 through, or 19 through 26 or something in this one, and then that's like issue 55 through 62 or something like that. So, very, very cool. So we might jump to that one and just I'll fill in the
gaps. That's fine. That sounds cool.
But all right, man. Well, on that note, I think we are good to go.
Yeah. Till next time.
Till next time. Bye.
Bye.
Well, folks, hope you enjoyed that episode.
If you did and you'd like to follow us on social media, our Facebook is Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, and our Instagram is @Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word.
And be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more recommendations to add to your weekly pull list.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.